Starting an instrument can be challenging. Being self-conscious about making mistakes while playing in front of people and being unsure of your ability are just some of the feelings that young musicians struggle with. Imagine starting that journey later in life. David Greif had the desire and courage to begin his musical journey late in life. Please join us as David shares his journey. David Greif is next on OTP.
And thank you, David, so much for being on the show today. How you doing?
I'm doing really well. Thank you for having me on the show, Mark.
Absolutely. We've been trying to get you on and just trying to get scheduling done and everything. So I'm glad we were able to do this. Let's dive right in. Tell us, where are you from and where were you born? And did your parents play music when you were growing up?
I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York. And actually, it wasn't my parents that played much music. It was more my grandparents. My grandmother could play the piano. And her father was a concert violinist.
Wow.
And he immigrated here in the early 1900s. And so there was a lot of music in the family. And so I didn't realize that it was taking any root as I was visiting grandma. But it was. I have visions of her with a big smile on her face, lots of joy in her heart, and it coming out in playing the piano and singing. And it's really good memories.
It was kind of like subliminal messages coming to you.
I guess. Yeah, exactly. So
yeah,
I'm very grateful.
Right. Do you have sisters and brothers?
I have a sister. She lives in Florida, but she doesn't. I don't know if she even listens. I think she listens to the radio. I think that's about the extent of it, though.
Cool. All right. Now, did you play when you started out in school, in high school or elementary or anything?
No, I actually didn't play at all. I always thought it was cool to see the guy in the leather jacket and the blue light shining on him playing the saxophone. And I always visioned, I want to be that guy. Right. But I never had enough impetus to do it until I was like 40 years old.
Wow.
And I was seeing a therapist that said to me, as you go through the divorce and you deal with your stuff, you might want to get more hobbies that make you happy.
Yeah.
And so I said, if I don't pick this up now, I'm not going to do it.
Right.
So I've been playing since age 40. Didn't know how to read a note of music. And
I love it.
My first instructor was an awesome instructor. Could I talk a little about
that? Go right into it.
Great. J.R. Williams. I'm very grateful to you. Anyway, I show up for my first lesson at Bombs Music, and JR is the instructor, and I have a lesson with him to play a tenor saxophone.
Wow.
And he says to me, as I walk in, he says, I thought you were getting a lesson to play a tenor. And I said, yes, I am. He said, well, unless that's the world's smallest tenor saxophone, that's an alto.
Right.
And I said, no. The eBay website said it was a tenor. So he proceeded to teach me how to play like an A, a B, and a C.
Right.
And I don't believe he thought he was ever going to see me again. Because not only did I not have the right instrument, but I was picking it up at age 40. And my understanding is that saxophone is a complicated instrument that somebody doesn't pick up at age 40. So I did everything he said for me to do. And he had a tremendous love of music, and he was able to convey that love. And he was candid enough to say, at age 40, you're not going to be a virtuoso. You're not going to be touring the world playing. Play for your joy. So listen to the type of music that you like to listen to, and then try to blow in the horn and fill the gaps.
Yeah.
And if it brings you joy, you're doing great. And, so I showed up week after week, and I started to learn how to play music and how to read music. And I'm really grateful that he was patient through that, and he didn't just throw up his hands and say, no, you don't know what you're doing. Goodbye. So, So
I love it. I love it. Okay, so you've given me a lot there. Let me back up for a minute. I want to go to the instrument. What was it about the saxophone? I mean, you had all these other choices: percussion, tuba, trumpet, flute. What was it about the sax why you gravitated to that?
you're asking a sax player why he plays sax. You know that I'm going to hit the rest of the members of the band and say,
No.
because it's the best instrument to play. But I'll tell you, the tone quality of the saxophone,
Okay.
the fact that the saxophone, you're able to give it a voice.
Yeah.
Like it'll take the melody part without a vocalist,
Right.
and you can express a lot of emotion. I'm sure you could do that with other instruments as well.
Sure.
But I mean, everything from squawking to
Right.
to your upper register and just
Right.
the beauty of that female voice up there.
Uh-huh.
And then the radiation of getting all, as it radiates through your body as you're hitting the
Right.
down end of it.
Yeah.
It's a sound quality that speaks to me.
Sure.
Another instrument that I really, really like is the violin,
Sure.
because it has a lot of that same sound quality.
Right.
It's almost like a voice, and you can almost feel it having a conversation with you.
Yes. Right on. Right on. Yeah. No, I feel you on that because um, you've obviously have made a connection with the timbre of the instrument, an emotional connection, and that's great to see. Now, I also want to get back to this, David. It took, like our introduction, there are so many people I've talked to just in my life going through that I hear this all the time, oh, I wish I could start playing blah, 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 and I'm too old. You had the courage and the gumption, the fight before you even went. And by the way, those are people that are listening. Bombs is a music store here in Albuquerque, Bombs Music, where people can take lessons and buy things and so forth. So you went to the music store, but before you went there, what was going on in your mind? You said a therapist was talking to you, but you had to make that choice right there. You could have said, hey, I am not going to do that. But you had the courage and you had to make that choice. What about it did you come across and say, you know what, I want to play music and I want to do this on sax?
Good question, Mark. What came across was the fact that I thought about the times that I was calmest. And when I was calmest was either in nature,
right on,
or listening to music.
There you go.
And if you've ever gone through a divorce or raised a child post-divorce where the other parent's not working with you on that,
right,
a lot of stress.
Right.
So things that could calm me down would be a good habit to pick up. And also things that I could do for generations to come, for decades to come.
Right.
One of my idols is Sonny Rollins.
A good one.
I mean, Sonny played for I think 75, 80 years of his life.
Right.
He's approaching, I think he's like 94, 90, somewhere in there now. Yeah, and he won I believe a Grammy when he was like 80 or something like that. Ridiculous. I mean, the guy hits the scene early on and just stays. So it's just amazing. And so I would encourage anybody that thought about picking up an instrument to definitely do that. It's never too late. And if it gives you joy at this point in your life, who cares what other people think? It should be about you at this point. So, and if you decide that you want to play with others, which is really fun, going to a New Horizons, which is a national organization in your area, which is a group of people that played instruments when they were younger and then came back to it later on in life. I'd really encourage you to get involved with them. Great organization, great socialization. You don't have to be a professional musician to walk in.
Right.
And if it's anything like the Rio Rancho group, there's a lot of love in the group.
Right. So. Yeah. Great commercial. I couldn't have wrote it
Thanks.
better than
You probably either censor it or you use it, one of the two. In which case you'll censor this part.
No, great, man. That's great. I love it. So let's get into the private lessons. So you're taking lessons with Mr. Williams, and what did you find to be as you're starting out at an older age there, 40, you said, as you look back, what do you think was the most difficult thing to start this saxophone instrument?
The most difficult thing was making time for me. No, I'm serious. I run a chiropractic business. I have staff that needs my attention, and they need jobs, and we need to keep things moving. I had half of the time I had my daughter, and she needs my total attention during that time period. And so I tend to put other things in starting life and getting life going, than putting me first. In regard to that. Right. And so as well as I know that consistency helps you to get better at an instrument. Right. And if you're not practicing on a regular basis, you're not improving. Right. So just getting that 15 minutes or getting that half an hour, and scheduling that in with everything else, and not letting it go by the wayside when something else comes up. Yeah. Really easy to put other things in front of it, for me anyway. Yeah. And so putting myself first, important. So.
Yes, good point. You've got to get to a point where you get a little greedy for yourself, and that becomes part of it. I love it. That's good stuff. So now you're taking lessons, and you've talked about this band, the Rio Rancho Horizon band, and now correct me if I'm wrong, you've never played in a organized band before, yes?
Right. No experience whatsoever in it. So.
Okay, I got to go there. So I love it. So now that feeling that we all get, I remember and still remember, it comes back often. You sit into a new group, you've got a director in front of you, and you have to play. What was your psyche? What were you thinking about that first rehearsal when you get in there? And I think maybe it might have been either Ron Lipka or Frank Rivera. I don't know who was there at that time, but take us back to that first rehearsal, if you can remember.
Okay, so I was the 13th member to join. So it was Leslie.
You remember the number.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I was like bubble 13. I was like, oh. Leslie was the one that was actually there. It was before Lipka. As a matter of fact, Ron, may rest in peace, I brought him to New Horizons.
Okay.
He was a client in my office. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and when I mentioned that Ron Lipka is going to come check us out, a few members of the band were like, "You got Ron Lipka to come to our band?" And to me, it was no big deal because he was just a client in my office. I didn't know what an accomplished musician he was. So I was like, "Yeah, he's going to come check us out. I don't know, whatever, But anyway, go back to your other question. The question was, when I first walk in that first day, what is that like? And first of all, my attitude was one of, I'm going to try this, and if it works out, great. And if it doesn't work out, I'm not making my living doing this. Yeah. It's for my joy. If it's not going to be fun and for me, and I'm not going to continue to do it. Right. Now, my instructor at the time, though, was Richard Firth. Right. And Richard said to me, "David, I feel that you're at a level of playing that you can play with a band. And it would be good for you to learn more of timing."
Yeah.
which, by the way, all the conductors, I hope you're not listening, because timing is the challenge for me, including you, Mark. Don't listen, Mark. Anyway, yeah, exactly. So, so I did have a person in my section
Right.
that was on my side.
Sure.
I did have the idea that he believed in me and he knew what he was talking about with music, which, because taking lessons with him, he was a stickler for getting it right.
Right.
And he was also a man that basically said to you, he didn't bullshit. He basically, if you were either right or wrong.
Right. Yeah.
And I really appreciated that about him.
Right.
Richard was, I once played a piece for Richard, and I practiced it and practiced it and practiced it, and I got it down and I got the timing exactly right. And I go and I play it for him. And he says to me, "David, that was an excellent variation." And I'm racking my brains trying to figure out, what did I do wrong that it was a variation? And he says, you might want to look at the key signature.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to be playing all the F's as F sharps, and I was playing them as regular F's. So,
right.
But that was the type of guy he was. He didn't pull punches. He could have easily said, "You got that exactly right," and just moved on, and I would have never known.
Yeah.
But he wanted me to get it right. And so if he said to me, "Hey, you ready?" I'm ready, And, the nice thing about a band like New Horizons is you're in a section. So if you don't get it the first time, just don't play the notes you're uncomfortable with. I mean, there was that advantage of the fact that the section's going to make the noise, and hopefully the majority of them are playing the right notes.
I crack up what you say, the noise.
Well, but isn't that the truth of the matter, though? The truth that you hope. I mean, you're trying to listen to the other sections of the band, and as you get involved more, you get better at that. But when you're a novice musician first coming in, you're just trying to come in at the right time, the right window. And this is my gap. Let's hit it. You're not thinking about this and that and the other thing.
Yeah. You're just trying to survive.
Yeah, you are. But the other side is you're choosing to do it for fun.
Absolutely.
So don't get too bent out of shape about this, because you're not going to get a paycheck at the end of the day, even if you're great. It's just not going to happen.
That you said something so great about that, because the number one thing about it is the fun aspect of it, and so many of us, we're taking it so seriously that we lose sight, especially as adults, that we lose sight of the fun aspect. That's where kids are great at. They love having fun, and they love being in band to have fun, and they look for that. But as we end up being adults, that word, that 3-letter word, sometimes ends up a 4-letter word. We don't look for that fun anymore. I love it. That's great. Yes, you're absolutely right about Richard. I got a quick Richard story for you. I started and in 2014 anyway, playing, and I moved too early on a dotted half note, and he turns to me, he looks at me, and I was sitting next to him in second chair, on alto. And so then we're going along again, and we try it again. Ron was conducting. And again, I moved too early on the dotted half note. And he goes, "That's a dotted half note." And I know it's a dotted half note, And I was so flustered, And then the third time we're running it, and I missed it again. Then Ron looks at me and he goes, Sax says that's a dotted half note.
Just put a little salt on the wound, right? Yeah.
I love Richard. He's a great guy. So, so now you're in there, you're playing. Talk about to the audience about how you ended up, how you developed your practicing along with your daughter, your wonderful daughter, your family. You're running a business, and now you're getting better on your horn. But when you get better, you're playing more difficult music. How do you get that pendulum and the right mixture of practice versus life, because almost every person I've talked to on this podcast on OTP have said life has gotten in the way, and you're not retired.
No, not retired. Not yet. Yeah, no. I think that what will happen is like things will phase in and things will phase out in my life. And it's kind of like a plate juggler of keeping them all active. My daughter once said to me, Dad, you must hate your work, which I don't. But she says, you have more hobbies than any person I know. So, you know, I like to camp and I like to hike and I like to fish, and fishing wasn't enough. I want to go fly fishing now. So, you know, and I like to ride motorcycles and make music. And you want a humbling experience, Mark? Take up guitar.
Oh, I know.
The right hand and the left hand doing completely different things. 14 was the time to learn how to play guitar, not 58 years old. But I'm going to learn how to do that eventually.
Drums, the same thing, you know.
You know, I think it's just I keep in my mind the different things that I like to do.
Right.
And then it's finding the time for them. That, you know, well, this one might be an emphasis now, and then I drift a little bit and I move into something else.
Right.
I know I'm never going to be a virtuoso musician.
Yeah.
It's really about joy in my life.
There you go.
And so, you know, if I'm enjoying it, I'm going to keep doing it. And I got to tell you that playing music, out of all the hobbies I have, and I have a lot of hobbies, I'm always in a better mood after playing than before. And for me, the biggest challenge is that first 5 minutes of sitting down, picking up the horn and blowing into it. Because I'll make a million excuses not to be there.
Right.
And I find that weird about human psyche. It's the thing that gives me joy every single time. And you would think that if it's something that gives you joy every single time, it would be a no-brainer to do it. But yet I fight with myself like I'm not worthy of joy every single time. I can't do this. And then 5 minutes in, I'm now what I was supposed to be a half an hour is getting stretched out to 2 hours of blowing into a horn.
Right.
To the point that you're just like, wow, why did I not do this? You know?
Right.
So.
Right. Absolutely. And I call it, and this started for me when I was in school, the love-hate relationship. You know, I, at one point in college, said, I'm done. I'm not going to play anymore. I quit. And I was a music major. That wasn't going to be good, you know. And my private teacher said, okay, then you need to let it go. But it kept on bringing me back. And that's when you know you really love it. And like you said, you sit down and you're playing and you have something that you have to go after more and more. And so that leads me to my next question for you is what's your next goal with your instrument, with the saxophone?
I picked up a book a few years ago. And the book was classic bebop artists and such.
Okay.
Playing different ballads.
Right.
Well, Dexter Gordon did a version of Willow Weep for Me.
Okay. Yeah.
And this is the nomenclature for that, to play it like Dexter Gordon. Like, okay, now that's a big stretch, right?
No,
You're not going to play like Dexter Gordon. I mean, he's one of the best players that ever played.
Right.
But what I'm meaning is that you can get the essence of the flow of the notes.
Right.
And you can blow through it in regard to his riffs.
Right.
And practice his riffs.
Yeah.
So when I retire, one of my goals, and I set a lot of goals all the time, is one of my goals is to take Willow Weep for Me and get a good backing for it.
Yeah.
Which in today's computer world, it's amazing what you can get.
Yes.
And then blow over that and play it side by side until I can get his timing.
Yes.
And try to get that down.
Right.
And I mean, I'm never going to be a wonderful, wonderful musician, but I'm always going to enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the challenge of doing that is a really good enjoyment for me.
Love it. Have you checked out Tom Play? Tom Play, write that down, tomplay.com.
Okay.
TOMPLAY.
PLAY.com. Never
Yeah,
have a pen when you need one, but
I know.
okay. I'll hit you
Check-
Tuesday when we get back, if I don't write it down right after this. Yeah.
Okay, I'll give it to you. It's basically I subscribe to it. You can download music, and then you can play along. You can there's an app for it. You can take out the sax part. You can have the backing track. You can do
Nice.
all kinds of crazy stuff. Put it in. Actually, go to YouTube and put Tom Play in there. There's a billion
Okay.
videos on it, and you'll love it.
Well, I've gone to YouTube before and just said tenor play along. And
Right.
you get a whole bunch of the classic tunes that I really like,
Right.
1940s, 1950s, that type of stuff. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's fun.
Yeah.
But I'll look at this Tom Play and see if there's more. I also have done the Jamie Ambersole stuff.
Oh yeah. Can't go wrong.
For our instrument, I think the best one is the Maiden Voyage one.
Right.
Yeah. And it's fabulous to just put the disc in and play along with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. You made me think of, you remember Big Ed that was in our band?
Yes.
And I gave him lessons for a while, and he struggled with, he loved playing, God rest his soul. He loved playing, along with other pieces, and he would do exactly that with YouTube. I showed him, you probably know, but on YouTube, there's that gear and you can change the tempo on the music on the YouTube. So check it out there. But that really helped him. So you're going along. What is now the thing that most gives you the most difficulty playing on your horn as you're playing now? What do you think you're struggling with the most at this point in your playing?
I would think the thing I'm struggling the most is looking at the notes and hearing it in my head in time.
Yeah.
If somebody else plays a section for me,
right,
I can mimic that.
Yes.
I can see the notes and recognize the notes and know the riff, know how to play, but getting the timing right.
Right.
And as one of the other instructors talks about for New Horizon, phrasing.
Right.
It's not just a bunch of notes. It's a phrase, and let it sing.
Yeah.
I would, if I had my druthers, I would have you guys record every part. I would get it down because I would just hear it.
Yeah.
And,
cool.
That's the thing that's the biggest part for me.
Yeah.
Is because I believe when you read music and you hear it in your head.
Yeah.
You hear like someone's playing it for you in your head.
Right.
I'm not that proficient yet.
And a lot of times we've said as music educators to our kids, let's sing it first. You try to sing it. And sometimes, we're not really worried about the right pitch, just getting the right, where the note is, and let's sing this phrase through first. So I totally get what you're saying. So before I let you go, talk to the audience about, you sort of elaborated on this, but we have many people that come to these podcasts that have never played before. You're a prime example of someone that didn't stop. You decided you wanted to do this, and you went for it at an older age, and you're continuing to play. Talk to the audience, for those that have not picked up the instrument, love music. What is it doing for your soul? What do you think it's going to do for you as we get older? You're a young blood right now, but we're all moving forward.
Well, my hope is what it's going to do for me is it's going to continue to stimulate my brain so that I can avoid Alzheimer's and avoid senioritis and such. I'm really hoping that. But I think the pep talk I would give to somebody on this would be, it's your time. It's when are you going to claim time for you? If music makes your heart sing and you've always wanted to pick up an instrument, today is the day.
Yeah.
Just do it. You deserve it. You've been there for everybody else. Now it's time for you. Claim today for you. Do it today.
Man, you missed your calling. we could have you do a inspirational tour. That is great.
Thank you. That's very nice of you, Mark.
I love it. That's right.
Grateful.
Yeah, man, that's great. I want to say, what you've talked about today, David, on the show is really what, music is all about. Well, I don't care whether you're a professional, you're making millions, you're going on tour, whatever, but it's that connection in our heart and soul. And you're absolutely right to go out and make your day today, as being retired, having time, making time for yourself. I love it, David. Thank you so much. I will see you on the next rehearsal.
Yeah, August, I think.
Yeah.
Enjoy your summer if I don't talk to you.
You too, man.
And enjoy your trip up to see your child.
Absolutely.
So,
God bless. Thank you so
Pet
much.
That doggy.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Grand dog, right?
Grand dog. That's
yeah.
right. I want to thank you so much. And I want to thank the audience for those that are listening and watching on YouTube. You can find this podcast on YouTube or any of the platforms. Check it out. David and I want to tell you, go out and play all the right notes.
Absolutely.
You've been listening to The Podium. If you would like to be a guest on The Podium, email the show at onthe-podium2@gmail.com. That's ONTHEPODIUM TOO @gmail.com.